Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I think I've been bitten by the flieger bug really hard. I went from having no fliegers at all in my collection to having two in just the span of over a month. Now I blame this on the excellent experience I had with the Escapement Time Type B flieger. After trying that Type B dial, I wanted to know what I would feel towards the Type A dial. So I ended up getting the Steeldive SD1940 from AliExpress in for review. So this Steeldive came in a Pelican style case that's made out of plastic and it has some padding on the inside of it. You get a hang tag, an unstamped warranty card, and a user manual which I obviously did not bother reading at all. The packaging is actually kind of nice and it serves a purpose to protect the watch. It can easily function as a travel case if you want to take your watches around and don't have one of those fancy leather watch rolls. I think this would be a really nice replacement for that. Now onto the watch, and as usual, let's start with some dimensions. So this watch comes in a 39mm case, 48.5mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width, 12mm thick, and with the supplied leather strap, it comes in at 73 grams. Now those set of numbers contributes to a really nice kind of Goldilocks zone wear and feel on the wrist. This is what it looks like on my 6.5-inch wrist. Now moving on to the specifications of this watch. It has a stainless steel case that is entirely brushed. The front of the watch features a sapphire crystal and is coated with a purple looking AR coating on the underside. It looks really nice. The purple is strong and it can be seen anytime the crystal catches any light. Under that crystal is a matte black dial, which looks dark grey in bright lighting conditions. It also has a bit of texture on it if you look in closely. Now if you've owned or seen the dial of the SKX 007, I would say this has a very similar characteristic to that. Right below the 12 o'clock marker you have the Steeldive logo and name painted on the dial, and the words automatic and 200 meters right above the 6 o'clock marker. The Steeldive logo does cause some debate online, but I'm kind of indifferent to it. It's not the best I've seen, but it's also not the worst. The dial is surrounded by a minute track and it has luminous rectangles at 3, 6, 9 and 11. Now within that minute track you'll find Arabic numeral hour indices. The indices are painted on the dial and are slightly raised if you look up close. They have a greenish yellow tint to them, as they're painted in C3 Superluminova. You'll also find a cutout for the date at the 3 o'clock position. The date is printed in black against a white background. It breaks up the clean aesthetics of the dial a bit, but it does provide a very useful complication, especially if you intend to use this as a daily driver. The handset on this version is actually different from earlier Steeldive 1940 fliegers, which were truer to the designs used by the German Luftwaffe. The hands on this version pay homage to the IWC Mark XII. The hour hand is squared off at the end to steer your focus towards the pointed minute hand and the silver seconds hand. Both the hour and minute hands feature a diamond cut shape to them and are filled with the same green lume in the middle. Now speaking of lume, this watch is a lume monster. It glows like a torch when the light goes out. Honestly, it's one of the brightest lumes I've seen, and that's very surprising coming from a pilot watch. The handset and indices shine with a strong initial glow and they last long throughout the night. I've had no problems reading the time anytime I wake up in the middle of the night. The crown on this watch is a screw down crown that features a nicely engraved Steeldive logo. It has nice knurling that makes it very easy to grip. It's not smooth, but it's not very gritty either. Once it's unscrewed, you can hand wind the watch. Pulling it out one click allows you to adjust the date, and pulling it out to the last position hacks the second hand, allowing you to set the time. On the back of the case, you'll find a screw down case back with a nice shallow engraving of the Steeldive logo. It also has the usual set of specs all around it. I really like the way the case back is done. For a watch at this price point, this is a really nice touch. The engraving is not the smoothest, but it doesn't really cause any irritation when you're wearing the watch. The screw down case back and crown help contribute to a 200 meter water resistance rating. Now I've not gone swimming with this because basically all the pools are closed everywhere, but I worn it in the rain and tested it under the tap without any issues. I'm fairly confident the gaskets in this will hold up well to water, but I won't do anything more than normal swimming with this at most. Now the movement powering this watch is a Seiko Instruments NH35 movement. It's a reliable automatic movement that comes with hacking and hand winding functionality. It beats at 21,600 bph. It has 24 joules and it has a 41-hour power reserve. This particular unit in this watch is probably the best NH35 I've had. Over the course of 2 weeks on and off the wrist, it averaged at 1 second per day fast. That's right, plus 1 second per day, on a watch that costs less than $100 US. Now your mileage may vary with the NH35 movement, but it's always nice when you get one that's as accurate as this. The strap that comes with this is fairly generic and forgettable. It's black and has white stitching all around it. It feels rather stiff and low quality, nothing like real leather. I immediately removed it and put the watch on a vintage brown leather strap I have. That's the one you've seen this watch on throughout this review. Now let's move on to the things I like about the watch. Number 1, the looks. I love clean dials. That's the style I gravitate to the most. This Type A pilot dial is cleanliness personified. I like the way it looks and it's a very legible watch. You can easily read the time anytime you glance at it. The next thing I like about this watch is the size. At 39 diameters and 48.5 lug to lug, this watch wears perfectly on my 6.5 inch wrist. Flieger watches are traditionally larger, so this comes as a nice surprise. The smaller size helps the dial look more balanced and ensures there's not too much empty space throughout the dial. The size definitely makes it comfortable and versatile enough for daily wear, which is always a plus. I also really like the Lume. Like most watch enthusiasts, I'm a Lume junkie. The Lume on the Steeldive SD1940 is out of this world for a watch of this style. To put things in perspective, it actually grows brighter than the Lume on my SKX 007, and that's an ISO rated dive watch. Now granted, the Lume on the SKX does last longer than the Steeldive, but frankly this shouldn't even be a comparison. The Steeldive absolutely punches above its weight here. Lastly, I like the value this watch provides. I got this for slightly over $70 US. At that price, this watch is a no-brainer. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Flieger watch at this price point, or many other watches that offer the same set of specs in such a good-looking package. Now, what don't I like about the watch? Number 1 is the fit and finish. You can see that this is where they mainly cut costs on. The brushing is rough and it can be felt through touch. It's not as refined as the brushing on most other watches. If you look around the bezel, you can see rough machine marks all around. I couldn't unsee that and it started bugging me every time I noticed it. There were also some sharp edges on the lugs. Now you don't feel this on wrist, but you just have to be careful when handling the watch in your hands. I noticed some rough finishing on the edges of the hands too. It's not super noticeable, but you can clearly see it in certain lighting conditions. Here's a shot of it in macro so you can see it more clearly. This watch also came to me with a few dings on it from the factory. Now I have not experienced that in any watch I've bought so far. Here's the most noticeable ding that I actually found on the bezel. Now I know this is an affordable watch, but things like this should not pass the QC process. Your watch should not come to you new from the factory while looking like someone else has used it. The next thing I don't like about this watch is it just has too much green. I'm personally not a fan of how green the lume on this is when it's not activated. I don't normally have a problem with this on dive watches. I have the same thing on my San Martin on Orient Komatsu, but there's a lot of other visual cues on dive watches that balance it out. On this dial though, it's a very plain looking dial, and the green just feels a bit too overdone and does distract from the clean look. I'd have preferred it if they had a more white or even yellowish look instead, but I guess this is a trade-off you make for stronger lume during the night. Lastly, I don't like the strong AR coating. I never thought I'd complain about a watch below the $100 mark having AR coating, but here I am. I find the AR coating on this and most Steeldives to be too strong. It's a nice pop of color at first, but over time it really distracts from the legibility of the watch. I'd have preferred if they used a clear AR coating instead to really bring out the matte black dial. Now to sum up, what are my thoughts on the Steeldive SD1940? Well, I think it's a great choice for the smaller wristed flieger watch enthusiasts out there. This can easily be someone's everyday watch. The versatile style, size, clean dial, and strong water resistance and lume all make it a really great package. Just make sure you put it on a good strap and you're good to go basically. If you're not sure if you like the flieger look, again, this is a very affordable watch that you can use to dip your toes in and test out if you really like that look. If Steeldive can sort out their minor QC issues and refine the fit and finish a bit more, they'd really take a huge step towards dominating the affordable flieger market. I don't think they have much competition there, besides the escapement time flieger I reviewed. Speaking of which, would you like to see a head-to-head comparison of the Steeldive SD1940 and the escapement time I reviewed a couple of months back? Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see that video. I think that would be a really nice comparison to have. I hope you enjoyed this review and thank you for staying all the way to the end. If you like this review, please like, comment, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, for watching my videos, and I hope to see you again at the next one. Take care.